Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the March 7th meeting of the Board of Sewer Commissioners. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:30. And we have a roll call, please.
Sandy Slavin, present.
Malcolm White, present.
Donna Brown, present.
Peter Dunlop, present.
And Jim Gibberti, present. Full house tonight. We have minutes from the meeting of February 21st. Everybody have a chance to look at them?
I make a motion we accept as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 5-0-0.
I don't think everybody was here.
We abstain, I abstained.
Oh, you abstain. All right, 2 abstentions, I'm sorry. 2, there we go. Okay, that's 3, 2. All right, we have some abatements. First one is for 17 Washburn Court. And Director is recommending an abatement of 4 months, August 1st of 18 to November 30th of 18, which is $208 in the abatement, thereabouts.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to table this. I want to revisit it. I think it's backwards. I just got to look at this again. So he bought the property in the summer and he rehabbed it. And he put I think he put the water on earlier, but he would put the water on for construction. But the point is, he got his occupancy permit, I believe, in November. So he'd really owe for November, December, and January. He'd owe 3 months. And so I'd like to pull it and bring it back to you.
Okay. This one is for further study.
Yes.
You don't want to go for 3 months?
Oh, he's got to redo this.
Because again, I got to redo this, and it was done. I remember discussing these with the girls. I don't remember any of them, any final disposition, because when we get these in, we mull them over, we look at the policy, try to apply it. But in this particular case, I knew that it's all based on occupancy permit, and that should be the backup document. They have one here. I think it says July, but that's not true. He didn't occupy it, and I believe it wasn't until November.
Okay, we're going to get a motion for further
I
study.
make a motion, we table the abatement at 17 Washburn Court for now.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll see that
Just so I can be
next
sure.
time around the horn. Okay, for 152 Swifts Beach Road, a recommendation is reducing the account from 2 EDUs to 1 EDU due to a clerical error, which was not reduced from the last billing.
Absolutely, and if you look at the backup, we gave her an abatement in the past, and when we gave her the abatement, we were going to reduce it to an EDU. We didn't do that, we charged her 2. So,
Make a motion we abate for,
Correct the problem?
yes, to clerical problem.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
5 zip. 276A, Onset Ave. No abatement for this account. The water has not been shut off for the year as required by policy.
that is correct, Mr. Chairman.
I make a motion, we deny this abatement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
5-0-0. Ellis, we have an article for the roof repair.
Not with me, but I did
Okay.
submit one to the town administrator. I can send that to you.
Okay? I'll give me a call or come in, whatever works.
He was not going to put it on as its own article, but he was going to mix it with others to make a capital
Oh,
article.
all right.
How much are you going to ask for?
215,000,
And it will be at the special spring?
yes.
How much is this roof gonna be for?
The roof is for the dewatering building, a garage, and what were the other two?
Septic receiving buildings, there's 2 septic receiving buildings, there's a garage, and there's the dewatering building.
The dewatering building's the largest of the bunch.
Were they on the capital plan or? No.
They weren't on the capital plan, I take it?
No, they were
No, they
not.
weren't. I thought they were on 4 years ago, but it doesn't roll. I got the wrong impression of how it.
How's this going to affect the cash flow? Because of what we've budgeted for this year, how will this unanticipated $215,000, as I take it?
I've
how-
asked for it to be taken out of retained earnings, so
Okay.
it shouldn't change the budget.
And because it's in special spring, that's FY19.
It is. We
That's not
hope
an
to-
issue.
We hope to encumber the money, so, but we have indications that a builder, a construction company should be able to start work in April or May. So the meeting's April 22nd. We're hoping to really get it going right after that.
It's an article. An article is, it's funded, then there's no deadline, fiscal deadline, once you do the article.
No, but if you've approved it in FY19, it has to be allocated in the FY19 calendar. It doesn't go into 20.
No, because the money's coming out of retained earnings, so the vote is
So-
going to be
But I
from
just
retained
wanted
earnings
to let
coming out.
anybody listening know, because it's on special spring, that's still FY19 window.
All right. I believe we can push it forward a year if we have to.
Spending it is one thing, but approving it is
Yeah.
the other component, yes.
Excellent.
Okay,
You gotten any prices yet?
There was one round of bidding. One bidder came in extremely low and then asked for a very large change order, which wasn't appropriate because there were no changes. They just intended to do things not to the bid spec. So we were rebidding it. The engineer who's running the bidding process thought that that would be the best way to go. We ran it by Derek, who's the procurement director, I guess, the procurement boss for the town, and everybody agreed that was the best way to go. The low bid was 115 or so, maybe 118. The next bid was 209. And the bid after that was a bit higher. But the engineer felt that in the 200 range was a fair price for this large of a project. Asbestos mitigation done properly, and the lightning suppression, the lightning rods done properly and up to the new specs.
okay, we'll have that.
So we have to submit an article to town meeting?
Are we doing that?
On the special, I've requested an article, and Derek said he would mix that in. I'll make sure it happens with other capital projects that are on the special.
Should we vote?
You'll have the article for our next meeting anyhow, right?
I will.
We'll do it then. Okay, generator replacement, is that? Oh, the generator replacement, that's going to the water cooled from,
Yes.
or the air cooled from the water cooled, the water
Water-cooled
cooled
to
from the air
air-cooled.
cooled.
That's correct.
And we have to build a building and raise it off the ground, and because of the size.
The size of the generator, and also because of the flood elevations. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Saltworks. It goes right down to the beach in Indian Mountain Beach, so it's this particular pump station is on the water. To put the generator out, we have to raise it to an elevation of, I believe it's 8 or 7 above what it presently is. to redo the building and put 2 floors on it would be kind of ridiculous, so we're going to build a platform for it, to put it on top of the platform. And then we'll have to attenuate the sound by putting a sound enclosure. And we'll just tie that into the building, into the control panel. The control panel, the transfer switch and electricity will be in the top panels. Then electricity obviously will be running to wherever it comes from the pole. I'm not so sure of that, but that's what we got to do. And the other one is on Terry's Lane. That's only a 4-foot rise. It's the same thing. It's a water-cooled. We'll get disconnect it, bring it outside, raise it 4 feet, and make it air-cooled, attenuate the sound, and then enclose it for sound and weather, and tie it back into the transfer.
Okay, now, just for clarification, the main reason that we're doing this is because of having to raise them, or because of the size of the generator?
The main reason is the water-cooled are illegal. They don't make them anymore. It's against the law. And the building was designed to
minor.
water-cool. And so that which changed everything. The whole approach had to change. Water-cooled is
Is
smaller.
the size of the air-cooled larger?
Yes, it
Is that
is.
what it is? Okay, so it's a physical,
There's a couple of things. It's code,
Problem.
physical.
yep. Okay. Any questions, anyone?
What exactly are you
Do
looking?
we need a,
I don't know. I thought it was in the capital. I thought we moved it to next year.
Those are in the budget, in the capital section
okay, so that,
This year or next year?
for FY '20.
2020. We tried to do it into this year and rearrange things, but in talking to Mr. Bowen, he said we couldn't do it, so we just, because there's engineering has to be done, and the article was very specific, what we're doing for the bid for the generators of last year, I just couldn't change it. So it made more sense to just put it all off to next year and do it properly and change the scope and the engineering, do it all next year.
okay, so this will be something that'll come up like at the fall town meeting?
No, it's
this
in the,
one?
it'll be in this springtime
In this one
meeting,
here
it's
for
2020
fall.
approval,
Okay.
2020 budget approval will be in
I
there.
got you, all right. What was it, that was a $500,000 number
I think it was something like that.
250,000 per machine.
per unit,
What was it, 500,000?
right?
That's what I
How
said.
many generators, just 2?
Two, but you
Generators,
got
it's
the
the structure
generator
is that
plus
where the money
the
is.
structure, and all the rest of it, so. What does the generator itself run approximately? You have any idea, Guy?
Well, it's hard to say. They usually run, the generator itself without the, without the transfer usually runs, they can go from $25,000 to $45,000, depending on size, excuse me, size and what they got to do. But they average about $35,000, $40,000 for us. Some are more, like when we did Kennedy and Constant Narrows, they were larger. Those are probably in the $60,000, $65,000 range. And then the transfer switch, that's an arbitrary, it could be 10, 15, 20, 30,000, and then the electrical wiring of it, and then installing it. So that's what we usually run for. Usually, we've been getting 3 generators, average between $160,000 and $200,000 for 3 generators. What killed this one specifically is the cost of moving everything outside. And it has to be engineered because of the new elevations, the FEMA map and all that. It changes the complexity of everything, so the engineers got to stamp it, we got to verify elevations, and all that
So you
good
gotta
kind of
put
stuff.
it, so you're gonna have to put it on a platform, you're gonna have to box it in,
It's just got to be
degree
soundproof.
and soundproof it.
Yeah, and there's, I think it's 95 decibels. There's a number that you got to, by law, you got to, and I'm not so sure of that number, but that's where all the money comes in.
Your report.
I really don't have a whole lot, but I'd tell you where I am, besides here in the meeting. We're starting the project. We've got, today we spent, and yesterday we spent time setting up the frac tanks. We're taking Smith's Pump Station and Terry Lane Pump Station, taking them offline. And we're hoping that'll decrease, we know it'll decrease the flow, which will decrease the amount of cleaning we have to do. Originally, the goal was to clean it, line a piece, and put everything back online. That means you have to come back the next day, clean it again, line a piece, put it back online. By taking these stations offline, we're trying to eliminate that to give us quicker response, we can get it done quicker, and because of the heavy clean is what kills us. So now with this process, we're just going to go in there, do a light cleaning, and dry it in line. The goal is to get 2 pulls a day. That's our goal, and so this gives us the better shot. 'Cause we want to get off Swiss Beach Road as soon as we can, because we're doing a different type of lining, and Swiss Beach Road is very busy. We've got some logistical things we're working on, and one of them is the housing. If I line that pipe, I take those folks off, and to ask that many people not to use water, I mean, we can, but the likelihood of success is going to be difficult. So we spent a lot of time looking for manholes that we can, when we plug them up, then we can pump out of the manhole to keep all those folks alive. So we think we have a viable answer. I've got some plans that I got from Mac, and I'm going to look at those. We think we found a manhole in the grass, hidden in the grass somewhere that goes out towards the highway. I'm sorry, Swiss Beach Road. We think we got it at Swiss Beach Road. What we're trying to verify, there's only one exit from that building through Swiss Beach Road, because there may be through that easement, but there also may be through the front. That's what scares us, because we're trying to figure it out. Nobody has any really good, solid plans. So the worst-case scenario is we shut them off for a day, and they have to deal with the facilities, and that means they've got 2 laundromats to shut down, a bunch of homes, and so that gets us a little concerned. So we're trying to do the very best we can to keep these folks going.
Are you talking about the Woods Wareham?
Yes. Yes.
I think they've only got one way in, don't they?
We don't know. Nobody seems to know. We think we found one in the backside.
Yeah, but I think it's been closed up for years.
When we looked at the camera, there's 2 pipes coming out, one in by the parking lot coming in, and one by the easement where the gate is. So we have 2 active lines. We're assuming they come to that development. We really don't know, because we can't see where else they would go.
I'm trying to remember. You know, there in 76.
If anybody has any real honest-to-God answers for us, we'd like them, because it would help out that development. Because when we're going to line them, they're going to be at least a day without water, and it's a large development, and we worry about water flow, we worry about backing up into the basement, the bottom apartments, we have a lot of things that we're concerned about, and so we're going to do our very best to assist these folks. They have no idea, but again, I think we found one manhole today. We got to try to verify the other. We can dye test. We can take every building, throw a piece of dye in it, and verify where it comes out. If all the dye comes out that one area, it's okay, great. It may not, you know, and we can also put a camera in there and watch both of them and see if anyone comes out. So we can play all these. We've got a couple days to do this, because we're going to go with earnest Monday morning. In earnest, we're going to whale it. So we've got to get all logistics done tomorrow and over the weekend to make sure. We also have to do a great effort of getting out to the neighbors. The biggest concern we have is with all the hype about these people breaking into homes and claiming to be individuals they're not, and people getting robbed. So we've got to do it through the police department to make sure that the residents know that we're going to be well identified, the engineers will be well identified, and we're going to be knocking on doors to keep people abreast of when we're going to start, what's going on, and we'll do that over the weekend. So we put a call into the police department to get their advice on how to do this, because we will be out there, we will be knocking on doors, we'll be letting people know what's going on. We're going to be hammering sump pumps, because sump pumps took us out last time around, and we're going to be emphatically telling people, explaining to them that the importance of a sump pump. Now, I'm sure, and then we're going to do it generally, because I don't think anybody's going to say, yeah, I have one. I don't believe that. Somebody may. But the point is that they have to be, the explanation has to be given to them that this can take out this project. It's going to make it very, very dangerous.
Send out an email how to repair on the first lining project.
Wampico?
Yeah.
So that's an interesting,
Is that going to get paid for?
yeah, we don't know. Remember, that was wrecked.
Yeah.
And we gotta
Well,
come back
I
at
didn't know
it.
was wrecked. I thought you mitigated it, but evidently
No,
it
it's
didn't
wrecked.
hold.
We had to cut it out.
It didn't work.
We cut it all out. When they put the sump pumps on, it creates what we call a shock fin. So the pipe, take a look at an 8-inch pipe, and the shock fin comes up, and that's your pipe now.
Yeah.
That's your pipe. The problem we had is that I got to reinstate you, you're down over here, which means I got to put a machine, a crawler in this pipe to cut you out. Well, with this shock, I can't get to you. So that means I got to cut all this out. So we spent hours and days around the clock cutting this out just to get people back on the sewer. What we cut out, we didn't replace. We spent a ton of money cutting it out. And the money that was spent wasn't our money. So that's the issue. So now we got to come back and finish the bottoms.
You mean at this point the pipe isn't lined?
Just the top.
Excuse me?
Just the top. The bottom, we had to cut out where the shock fin is, we had to cut that out
So
to
do you
get to
have
them.
to excavate, or are you
We're
gonna be
hoping
able?
not. And the second part of the story is we had tremendous flow.
Because it almost sounded like you were gonna excavate.
We thought about it, we're thinking about it because of that break. But the other thing that got us concerned is the flow was incredible. Turns out there was a water main break out there. We're following the trends, and the flow's dropped. So it's taken, for me, it's taken a lot of curse off the bird, and it's like, oh my God. But they finally manifested at the top of Pleasant,
Whose water main?
the town of Wareham's water main. So it
Fire
fi-
districts?
Yes, so right by our manhole sheet, it just blew up, and we could see that.
Interesting.
The theory is that it's been going for quite some time now before it manifested itself. So we think, and I was showing Ellis today, that the line of how high that was, that whole system was surcharged. And today, it was yesterday, I think it came back down to non-surcharge. So we feel a little bit better because of flows, but we know we have to address it. There's a day we got to address it because the bottom of those pipes, we had to cut in there. We had to literally cut in, and the contractor ate the cost of cutting it out. And he didn't want to eat the cost of putting to relining it because it wasn't his doing.
Any idea of the magnitude of the problem?
I'm trying to figure it out. We couldn't get a camera in there because there's some that still has to be cut out, and it's $3,000 a day to cut. We still got some more to cut out. We're trying to establish how much more we got to cut out, and that's the scary part.
Somebody did not turn off their sump pump,
We believe it's more than one somebody, but
but
yes.
that caused the problem.
Absolutely. So we're going to go out and.
Can
we're
we
gonna be-
identify the problems?
We can't identify the property. We tried. There's too many with sump pumps to say who it is. That'd be a game. I mean, at this point in time, we couldn't identify. We tried by the bubble, because you had the shock tail, and there's a trail comes down that bubbled, but there was more than one. And so we knew on Bay, we could get some idea. On Kinkle, we have no idea. It would have to go into every basement and say, okay, who's got sump pumps? But because we can't pinpoint it, it's a general statement. And so we feel that we really have to do a great job of getting out the message about sump pumps. And anybody on that street, we literally have to knock on doors and remind them of sump pumps this weekend and the day of, to say, listen, you need to not only shut your water off, you need to shut your sump pump off. We just have to do that because I don't want to go through it again of sump pumps taking out this pipe.
We've talked about how do we check on who has what and where's the sump pumps hooked to. What I heard in a selectmen's meeting not too long ago, that our bylaw was flawed, but I haven't seen anybody make any effort to find out what was wrong with it and get it corrected, so we have a bylaw allowing us access. Any idea what's happening with that?
I think, to answer your question, I think the flawed bylaw that I heard about was the one to deal with forcing people to tie in. I don't remember any flawed bylaw by the sump pump, because the bylaw is not only ours, it's also a DEP requirement, EPA requirement.
So you think that
that's-
flawed bylaw was regarding the hooking up, the
Yes, because-
80-some-odd homes that haven't
Yes.
hooked it?
That's what I believe. I think the question at that time was, did we send out registered letters? And if we didn't send registered letters, it flaws. And we've been doing non-registered letters forever, and we get a
was on
compliance
time,
rate
yeah.
that's high. So that's
That
what
was on
that,
time. Yeah.
Okay.
that's what that came
So
under.
we still don't know how we're going to check the sump pumps and get them, and give them an option to redirect it outside of the sewer line.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. And it's a hard thing to knock on somebody and say, listen, I want to check the sump pump. Because you can just say, no, you ain't coming in my house. And then what do? I'm done. I'm done.
Okay, we talked about some options, and I think maybe we need it back on the agenda to say,
It's on the agenda, but we need to pick it up again.
pick it
yes.
up again, because we're coming spring, and spring is wet, and you're going to get
We're
a
gonna run like
tremendous
crazy.
amount of water coming in. And we talked about a surcharge, we talked about options, and I think we need to bring it up again, and I think we need to talk about getting more homes online. What do we have to do, register letter? Maybe we start doing registered letter for some of the older projects that haven't been done. Because if you give them a registered letter, I think they have a year to tie up.
So the policy is that from the date of the letter being issued, you have 1 year to connect.
Okay, so until we send out the registered letters, the clock is not ticking on these people who haven't been tied.
Well, again, the bylaw says the letter doesn't say registered, so I think that's what the flaw is they're saying. But again, we put out letters, we get 10% that don't comply and 90 that do, and so I guess the 10%
But a
we gotta-
registered letter gives us proof that it's been received.
Been received, yeah. I
And
get it.
therefore, the year starts.
So, so
Is
people,
it our responsibility to tell them the town bylaws?
I don't understand.
It plainly states in the bylaws that some pumps can't be connected to this.
Oh, we're back to, okay, I thought we were talking about hookups. So you're back to sump pumps.
now, the sump pump bylaws are clear.
Yep.
You're right,
Okay.
it's the one,
Okay,
the flawed was the
hookup
connection.
one.
So
All
that's-
right, so all we have to do is identify them, and then they're under penalty.
And so the question is, the identification is the real question. And so we talked about a broad thing.
Well, the
Broad,
particular
I don't know.
ones on Montego,
When King
if I
Coke,
remember correctly, when the project was done, 2 of the homes are only summer homes, and they couldn't get into them and the pumps kicked on.
I remember that being said, yes. And there was another one that we identified. There was 2 that we identified. One person said they were a renter, they had no idea. And one person was elderly, he says, I have no
Right,
idea.
and that person's perfectly willing to correct the situation.
So that's
So
what,
what do we do about the 2 people that are in Florida or wherever?
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, we must have an address for them. I'm sure the assessor's office has got an address for them. Tax bill's got to go
What
someplace.
do we assess them? What do we assess them?
No, I've said the assessor's office would have an address for
No,
them.
I mean, what do we assess them? We can send them a letter, what's the letter gonna say? What are we gonna assess them?
I'd like to assess them what it costs us to fix it.
Me too.
Well,
According to the penalties, we can only get,
There's a very, on some pump violations, very specific. It's like $300 a day, up to 5,000, or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
and I
things
believe
have
that,
changed. Now your method of repair is different. And the cost impact's different.
So then, and the bylaw would have to be amended.
in your email, you said you wanted to replace that section of 8-inch pipe?
What I said in my email, that it probably, as a project, was thinking of all the projects come down the line, that it may be wiser to replace it because of its depth. And because remember when we had to repair that, and so that's got to be cut out, and I'm not comfortable once it's cut out that that's
How
going to
deep
be
are we at that point?
17 feet. The contractor is willing to try
Is
it
there a
again.
possibility of us abandoning it,
Coming higher,
coming higher?
it would have to
Do we
pump
have
it.
stuff downstream that would have to be pumped up or something?
Every home that's tied into that, every lateral's tied in down to 17 feet. They come out of the property, they dive. If we grabbed every home, a lateral came out, grabbed with a pipe, say down 4 feet, and then had that go along the sides of the property, then bring that into the manhole, dumped it into the manhole, there's a potential of that being done. So we'd have to look at because
So we'd be doing a lot more than just the damage section.
we would do the damage section, potential of doing more, but the damage section is what we're concerned about. What made it very, very crazy is that we were taking water and that whole system was surcharged 3 feet, 4 feet up into the manhole. And so the water, so when we're getting all this water, it was backing up. So we're thinking, my God, we got a bigger problem than we thought because I'm surcharging the whole area. And the more I surcharge, at one point it was within 1 foot of the street.
Okay,
The more
so-
I surcharge is the more I'm going, the
so you
potential.
know that wasn't the problem, that was the water break that we
We
had.
believe that because now the numbers are
Okay.
down to a little bit and we're
But
going to watch it.
going back to this thing, there's that E1 system that you showed us, is that something that's a potential to do in this area rather than drop down 17 feet to replace a pipe?
It is. We had, that's on the table. I don't know if we got the plans, but we did, yeah,
You
it is,
haven't,
absolutely.
I mean, I haven't seen anything on that. I've got the E1 thing from a year and a half ago, or 2 years ago, or whatever it
We
was.
did a
But-
project, it was $18 million to do all of Swiss Beach, the whole, it was $18 million to do all of Swiss Beach with E1 systems. It was all designed.
How much?
18 million.
Oh,
It was all designed. And that's just abandon the system that's there and go into E1. So it
That's
didn't make.
replacing everything. Let's not,
That's what I'm saying. So
ignore
we
that.
abandoned it.
Let's ignore that
We did.
for a
We are.
minute.
We have
Let's-
ignored it.
Let's just look at the section we're talking about.
That's what I'm saying. We just,
Can we do that in that section?
Yes, we could do
Instead
that.
of,
We can, and I said, we also can have gravity by taking the force, because we got to do a force main anyways for those systems you're talking about. If we did gravity, if we come along the side of the road and grab their laterals down to 4 feet and just continue it down to the end of the street, then dump that into the manhole, it'd probably be more cost-effective because it'd be gravity opposed to pumping. It's another way of looking at it. Yeah, absolutely, I said that earlier, that's an option.
But that would be fine in that 150 feet.
That's all we're talking about, yes.
Yeah, okay. What about 160 feet down? They're still connected and it's 17 feet down.
Yes.
What do we do with that?
I'd have to pick that up. I'd put in that
That's
manhole.
what I was asking.
Yeah, and that manhole would pick it up to that lateral
So we'd have to install a pump in that manhole
Yes.
and bring it up.
and pick it up to that lateral.
Is that still cost effective?
We'd have to run the numbers, but I think it'd be more cost-effective. There's two things here, the pushback for grinders, I have no problem with grinders, but the town's pushed back many, many times. I'd have to get it through plan, there's a lot of things I'd have to do, but maybe we can do that. That's one thing, and the second thing is, the more gravity we can do, the cheaper it is. So a good section of gravity would be less money, and then just putting one pump in there to pull it out, it may be more cost-effective.
So it's feasible to do this section
Just that little
under
piece,
the new gravity system, bring it up to like 5 feet down.
whatever
or
the
something.
number is, because it's 6 feet to water, just above the water table.
We have to be below water?
We have to
No,
just
above
above it, 6 feet to
We have to be
water.
above water?
Yeah, the problem we have
okay.
now is everything's below water. That's the issues.
That's
All right.
that's the biggest problem.
So we do this and we pump up to it, and then when we get a couple of bucks, we do another section and just keep doing it.
Just do it, and as we do other parts of town, yes.
Can we get some numbers on that then?
We can ask, we can ask for some numbers, absolutely. We have a budget, and we have an engineering budget that we've been using right along. I think we started with 750,000, we're probably down to 300,000. We've used a bulk of it, we did the I&I study, townwide I&I study with that was 300,000. We have other monies, so that money's in there for engineering of infrastructure. So we have engineering funds available, it's ongoing, it's in the budget. Again, I believe it's 300,000 we have left of the 750 original. So there's money, we have monies in the budget for that.
Okay, Sandy, now let's get back to you not tied in.
Yes, if it takes a registered letter in 1 year to make them tie in, why can't we start taking a couple homes at a time?
The letters we sent out, and so here's the issue, the letters we're sending out now that aren't registered.
They're not registered,
We're
so they're...
getting back as hardships, can't afford it, can't afford it, can't afford it.
I'm sorry about that.
I get it, and so that's it.
But I
Now we-
want the proof that we sent it with a registered letter, then ask them to write us why they are not.
So you don't think the letters we already have that says we're not tying it because we can't afford it is not proof that they got the letter? They sent us letters, so we got a
But
stack
if-
of letters.
But if it,
They returned, we can't
attorney
afford it.
says we have to have a registered letter, I don't
Attorney
know.
hasn't said anything.
Oh,
We had a
okay.
selectman who said. The attorney has not weighed in.
Okay, so you're thinking because they've responded with a letter, that's proof that they received our notice of tie-in?
It may be false thought, but my thought is that if they're responding,
I would
what are
think
they
that-
responding to? That's my thoughts. I-
How many letters did you send out? All 80-something that
Say,
had?
we sent out 80 or whatever the number is, I don't have the number, but we sent out letters, everybody that didn't tie in, and we don't send it out once, we've been sent these out a few times, so we've got a stack of people answering us saying, listen, I can't afford it. One lady couldn't even afford the stamp, she called me to go get the letter.
86.
All right, and so what do I tell her? You can't afford a stamp, but you better find $2-3 grand to do that. I know, and then there's a loan they can get, but they can't afford the cost of the loan. I don't know what the answer is, I really
Isn't
don't.
there some CETA funds available?
It's a loan.
No, it's a loan. There's no funds available from CETA. I checked that already.
Loan.
But
they
it
still
is
have to pay.
available.
Well,
No,
it's a loan.
Yeah, but if they can't afford it.
Like, if they can't afford the loan, they can't afford the cost of a loan.
And they, never mind.
Sell the house,
So,
move out.
no, I
of
like
the
that.
86 or so that you sent out, how many have responded with, I can't afford it?
I don't have a number, 40, 50 maybe? I don't have a hard number. I'll have to
So
count
the
them.
people who haven't responded, maybe they need a registered letter.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean,
And-
it's-
and maybe. And some of the people that respond, they just said they can't afford it because kids are in college. There's a lot of, but, yeah, okay,
Can we put a lien on their property?
I don't know. That's a
Don't-
lawyer
Isn't that something
question.
that we should look at?
That's a lawyer
That way,
question.
if it's sold,
We're leaned for the betterment. So the question would be is if the betterment's paid off, these new projects that these aren't connected to, far as I know, they have betterments unless they paid off the betterment. If there's a betterment, we own that property, we liened it
Yeah.
for the sake of a betterment. Now, whether we can add another lien for sewer costs. Now, remember, I did this years ago, and I billed everybody, and it caused a major fiasco. And I got permission from the board to do that. I billed everybody that had not tied in. I billed them EDUs. And it's illegal, because they don't have the service, even though they're supposed to have the service. So,
But I think to follow up with Donna, if they haven't tied in, if we put a lien on their deed, and they go to sell the house,
20 years
They have
we
to
can-
tie in.
It's gonna
they
be
have
on
to
the
tie
bill.
in because it's part of the
on the tax bill.
deed.
So-
Something,
so-
so you're looking at two things. One, we really, they owe
They haven't
the
foreclosed on the
town
property.
the betterment,
haven't foreclosed
and it's
on the
deeded
property, I
that
would
they
have to
owe the
assume they
town a
have.
tie-in. I mean, it's something to look at that
The
we
town
put,
hasn't
if they want to
foreclosed,
sell the
it'll be a
house,
tax bill
and
issue.
you got two things. You got your betterment and you got your tie-in.
we had talked about inspection at closing, but one of the things that we're aware of, that when you sell a house, the bank is interested in whether it's septic or sewer, because they're partners with you now. If the house is not tied in, when they call us, we say it's not tied in, the bank requires tie-in, so we've got some that way. If they sell, we have something to get, because they call in for a lot of things. You know, the certificate for lien, so
yeah.
we can get them there, and we
Maybe
have
if-
been getting them there.
If they sell the house and there's still a cesspool, they can't sell.
They can't,
And if it's a outdated Title V, they can't sell.
can't sell. And if
So
it's-
that's already built into that, right? I mean,
And if
I'm
it's tied-
thinking out loud.
And if there's sewer to the property, they have to tie in. They don't have an option. So if they
When they
refuse to
sell.
tie in, when they sell, if they refuse to tie in, they do a Title V, and it's obvious that the sewer is available, the bank is responsible, and the bank throws that onto the buyer. And so there's another avenue to get it. We've been getting them from folks that have been closing, and they've tied in because the bank's now the partner, and the bank's saying, no, I don't want no loose ends, you'll tie this property in.
So
So
we've got
there's that
5 from
catch.
Briarwood, 11 from Wee Wee Antic and Rose Point, 25 from Parkwood, Tempest Knob, Sandwich, and Linwood Estates, and 45 from Oakdale and Cremisa. That's a lot. Okay. We really need
Well,
to
from the
start
sounds of
working on
it, it looks like the easiest thing, I kind of agree with you. If we've already received letters from people, they've received something from us, because they didn't do it arbitrarily out of the goodness of their hearts, just to have conversations with you.
I've only
And
had
the ones
one
that-
person do
And the
that.
ones that haven't responded, saying they can't afford it, I think I would kind of side with Sandy on that, is maybe those particular ones should get a registered
So
letter,
someone who
because then
hasn't,
you've got your proof backup that in fact it has been sent
Mm-hmm.
to them. It doesn't become a he said, she said routine.
so you think about 50% of them have responded,
I'll count the.
but close to
Yes,
50%. So
absolutely.
the
I
ones
think
that
this is
haven't
fine.
responded in any way,
Send it.
shape, or form, they get a
Send
registered
registered.
letter.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah.
That's what
I'm
he said.
Easiest way. I mean, that just covers all of us all around, I think.
I guess I would still like to have a clarification of whether it would behoove us to get a lien on their property or not.
You can ask.
I really,
If they don't pay the sewer bill, we can lien it, so maybe this is a reason too. If you don't pay the sewer bill, it liens to the property. So
If
if
you
the
don't pay
property
it-
sells or foreclosed, let's say the property
If
foreclosed.
there's an issue with the bylaw, the town bylaw on hookups, then that probably needs to be addressed first, and I don't know who addresses that particular
Town
issue.
meeting. Bylaws are done at town meeting, so
Okay,
you'd
but
have to.
somebody's got to draft the
Bylaw change and
thing,
then present at town
but,
meeting.
You know,
Can we
I
get
don't know what's
confirmation?
wrong with it, so,
I think we should really sit with Mr. Bowen and
Yeah.
get his opinion on it, and then go from there. So maybe you can sit with him and have him review it with you, and then if he can point out where he may see flaws. But my goodness, the bylaws, I don't know who reviews them now before they go in.
well, if the bylaw is, let's assume for a moment that the bylaw is fine, and we're covered under that thing. So then, the next step is obviously notifying with the green cards, those other ones, and then make the decision on who we go after when. I don't think we can go chase and follow up on all of them at the same time.
No, you can't. And what are we going to do with the hardships, or are we
Well,
going to
that's what I
acknowledge
say,
hardships or
I
not?
think we've got to deal, that's what I'm saying. I think we need to, first of all, get the package together
Okay.
and put them in the two piles. And then deal with the hardships on a one-on-one basis and see what it is and whether or not it's justifiable, or we feel that it's justifiable. And the other ones need to pursue the lien option,
Okay.
if that is an option. I'm assuming that it probably is to some degree.
Yeah, it's a tool.
And if
we
it
have.
is, then, I'd just put the lien on right away on those. Because if they do the thing, it'll come off, otherwise it's going to be there until they've done it.
I have a question. Now, if a cesspool fails,
A cesspool always
This
fails.
fails all the time.
oh, yeah, okay, that's what I meant.
You mean
I-
Title
I meant-
V?
Mine
I'm
hasn't.
sorry, say Title V fails. What happens then?
So the first thing the person does is they hire an engineering firm to replace it.
What if they're a hardship?
If they're a hardship, I got to tell you, to be frank with you, as far as the DEP or the state's concerned, money, financial is not a hardship.
Well,
That's
rest my
EPA's,
case.
DEP's
that's the
position.
EPA's position?
Department of Environmental Protection.
It should be our
If you've got to
position too.
if you have to protect the environment with a Title V, what they do is what they call compliance. It's close to compliance as you can get. That's the only hardship. But they don't say, oh, you don't have the money? Don't have to do it. That's not, no. There's no such thing as a hardship, financial hardship. The hardships for Title V are variances for depth and all that good stuff is what you play with. But never can someone say, I can't afford it. Never.
So why can they say they can't afford it for us?
But what happens is that money comes out of closing costs. So if we approach the same thought process, when they sell the home, then at that point in time, the buyer and the seller negotiate who's going to have it done, because now you got proceeds from the sale of the home that can go towards the rectifying this. Because in Title V, when it sells, usually that money's taken out of proceeds.
Okay.
So to your point of the lien, the whole 9 yards, now there's proceeds available, so that may be a viable source of getting some funds. So the idea you're pursuing is probably a good pursuit, because in the sale, there's usually money.
Yep.
And it's all written in.
Do we have to wait till it fails? Does EPA take a position on, once the sewer is available, that people should tie in?
The DEP does not take a definitive position. However, in the Title V bylaws, it says if sewer is available, you will do sewer opposed to Title V.
Now, that's Massachusetts law,
Yes, Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection.
Oh,
and that would override town law?
Well, I don't know. I don't want to get into autonomy, because I had this fight before, and it seems the town can do what they want because it's the town. But the laws are very clear. DEP Title V, the regulations are very clear. And so we usually follow those rules. Matter of fact, Mr. Bowen weighed in on that.
you just made a statement, though, that I want clarification on. You said that, I think you said the EPA,
DEP.
says if sewer goes by your house,
No, they say if it's available.
if
They
it's
don't,
available, okay, if it's available,
if it's available.
you need to hook up
That's right.
when the
Before-
Title V fails.
Yes, that's right. When it
So
fails.
in other words,
No, no, no,
It-
when it
it's-
fails.
so that's,
What about before it fails?
They don't address it. Remember we got in trouble because we put letters out?
that's where our problem is.
Yeah.
We got in some debate, because a lot of people were doing the Title V, there was a program for septic, and you get the money back, $9,000 credit.
Yep.
Well, a lot of people got audited and had to pay the money back. And we sent out a letter that said it was mandated, and the DEP does not mandate that you tie in the sewer. That's not their purview. They suggest it. Now, once sewer is available, they say, no, before you do septic, you got to do sewer, because it's available. But they don't weigh in on
Okay,
previous
so
to be
in other words, you can I can have sewer available, and as long as my Title V is working, there's nothing that will require me to tie into
Nothing triggers
sewer.
it. No, nothing triggers it. Only, our bylaw, we try to do it, but yeah.
We can do it on our level through a bylaw.
Which we have. Yes, you're correct.
So our bylaw is the authority, if you will, on hookup or no hookup.
I suggest you're right.
So it has nothing to do with the EPA or anybody else at this, outside of that. It's strictly local purview
That's correct.
bylaw.
That's correct, as far as making you time when sewer comes in front of
Right.
your house.
So that's where we really needed to be looking at, is our bylaw.
I think me and Mr. Bowen and going over that bylaw, and if it's not tight enough, making it tight enough to make it so that we can really enforce it, because the enforceability of the bylaw is what's critical. So, yeah, I agree with you. You should meet with
Well,
them.
I think, yeah, the bylaw's got to do two things. One, it's got to give us the authority to require the hookup, and then it's got to give us the authority to establish a penalty and assess one if in fact that doesn't happen.
The bylaw says we have a right to go in their cellar, but try to apply that. The bylaw says we can go in their.
You can.
Now, do we,
Try to apply that. It's like, it gives us the right in the bylaw.
so the existing bylaw isn't strong enough, that's the position?
I can't say it's not strong enough, because it's never been applied. It may or may not be, but the point is you're talking about
We'll be with
rights.
Bowen, that's all I can do. That's where we're at.
Mr. Bowen's going to have to
And if
give
it
you the
isn't strong
guidance
enough,
on
let's
that.
strengthen it and take it to town meeting.
That's what I just said.
Yeah, that would be the way to go. Make it clad
Yeah,
and then
but
apply it.
first, we need to find out what we've got. Okay, I'll contact him.
Okay. So we'll get back to where we started. So we're going to really hammer it this weekend. So we'll be out there knocking on doors, talking about sump pumps, talking about the liability. So we'll do that. And then we're going to well at it. So Monday, you guys come down and watch it. It will be there. We're going to extend the day. We're going to go as long as we can because we want to get 2 shots done for sure. And that's why the frac tanks are critical to us. We'd like to wrap that up pretty
We
quick.
gonna have coffee and donuts?
I'm not, but I can talk to the contractor. The contractor may want to do that. But we've already told the public, and we meant that, there'd be a viewing area. We'd make sure that they could view the process. If there'd be coffee, and I don't know, I could ask, but there'd be a place, we want the public involved in this.
Yeah.
We also had a demo for a manhole. Warren did a manhole for free at one of the manholes that we were on our list to do. Well, one of them's done for free. They did a great job. It was a leaking manhole, the shelf was shot, it's done. They did a demo because they wanted to video the demo, and so we got it done for nothing. And it's, y'all should, if you want to go out there, let me know, we'll open up so you can see it. Some of you's already seen other manholes, but some may not have when they rehab them. They're done,
Okay,
it's great.
Let me back up here a second. Our situation on Kinko. What needs, when needs?
I'm going to talk to an engineer. So then if we'll have an engineer, because to be frank with you, these decisions, of hydraulics and all that, we need to get an engineer to look at it. That's their forte. And so, okay, these are your options. We have viable options.
Okay, will we have some information for the next meeting? Or not?
2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm trying. That's a short period of time, but maybe. Maybe, I can't promise. If not, the next meeting, definitely the meeting after.
All right, well, let's shoot for the next one if we can, and see
Yeah,
where we're
I
going
will.
from there.
Okay. I had an interesting phone call, and I'll follow up to let you know, but Mr. Schrader called me and said, hey, you guys still interested? I said, gee, I think we're kind of on hold right now. But anyways, he's going to send me his ideas. I'll give it to the board, and you can go from there. He talked about the tiering. The last thing you talked about, he's got the tiering and all that.
Yep.
I'll give it to the board, and you can look at it and tell me what you want to do with it. That's pretty much all I have. I know you had some questions, Sandy, so I'm here at your disposal, or for your,
I think that was another meeting, but
okay.
I think I had some questions on capital planning, but that's not
That's not for here.
this meeting.
Oh, good.
Right.
Because I had answers for you, and I'll just,
Oh, okay.
so once you do this for me, once you email, and I'll email you the answers, and that way there won't violate any, and then you can bring them to whatever meeting you want to. So email me the questions you have. I think I have some, and because I prepared for those, so I will get you, so if you got questions specific,
Well, if you have time, you could make up some new questions that you could answer.
and I can answer those too.
But that's done on the next.
Or I can give you questions. I gotta tell you, Al, this is crazy, and maybe I'm crazy, but hearing the noise about Trebek was traumatic for me. Alec Trebek has been around, he's been probably part of our lives for many years, those of us that watch Jeopardy.
36 years.
You know what I mean? And to hear that, for me, it was, because of the odds. I didn't realize that it was that devastating.
Oh, it is.
I knew it was
Absolutely.
devastating, but I didn't realize it was that devastating.
Yeah.
So that really rocked me a
Very,
little bit.
my father died of pancreatic cancer from diagnosis 3 months. It went, he went very fast. Change of topic. I'm looking
3
at
years.
policy 2, 4, and
Alex
6.
Trebek.
What about,
Policy on residential connection to sewer force mains. I thought we were working on modifying those,
We were.
those policies.
Well, we're going to rewrite them.
I watch that every night.
Okay,
Peter was going to do a rewrite.
so it's been a while since we've talked about these policy changes. Maybe it's time to put them back on the burner?
Yeah, we need to. We haven't finished those off yet. We'll stick those on for the,
As these are policies about residential connections to sewer force mains.
Peter rewrote it. I think the problem was that he was going to have it done. I don't know. He did a good job of combining them. He played, and I think we got that far. And then it was the actual official rewrite we never got. But he did a good job on, I don't remember those. I don't know if you remember those, but Peter,
The policy rewrite?
yeah, he did a rewrite on that specific. He combined
We
them.
never finished.
We didn't finish, no. No. See, he asked me.
I thought you were gonna say,
just happened.
just happened to have that stuff right here. The last thing we did was, we were working on the wording of combining, let me find the numbers now. And it worked out to policy, what was it, 67, because we added them all up?
Right.
Yeah, well, we're gonna combine 1, 3, 7, 8, 9, 10, 14, and 16 into one. And then 2 and 4 into another. But I started to do it and then we dropped the ball.
Yeah, we just-
That was back when Susan was here, because she was,
She was the one
I
who
was doing it, but she was writing it in English.
Yeah.
As well, yeah.
So, I'll get back at it. Are you interested in some particular ones first, Sandy?
Well, no, just that I was going through my folder and came across these documents when I first joined the commissions. And I'm saying, oh, we haven't talked about these in a long time. So I was just cleaning up my,
Well, I'm pretty
That's
sure,
good.
I'm pretty sure Jimmy and I wrote out,
Yeah, we did.
the first one, and
I thought we passed that
it
one.
was the gravity sewer main connections. Is that what we ended up signing?
I thought we
I mean, the ones I'm looking are dated Sarah Woods, 1998, so I have a feeling they're all of them.
So you think they're antiquated?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
EDU was written 1996, you're still using it.
yeah. So these were policies that
Remember
were
we
done by
put
the
that all
selectmen.
together?
yeah.
Just
No, I think, to your
It's
point,
time
Sandy, they were definitely working on them. I think we just other things came up, and we just, because we were really, at one point, really working on
I think
policies.
what happened was Sue fell off the.
Yeah, when she gets sick.
Oh, yeah, but I think we
Yeah.
should definitely,
I think you're right. I think that's what took us off track.
Yeah, see, I'm kind of in this form,
yeah,
and somehow that didn't look official enough.
no, I understand.
So she was gonna make sense of it.
All right, I was going to stick this particular thing on the agenda for 2 weeks, not next meeting, but the following meeting.
That's 1, 3, 7, 8, 9, 10, 14, and 16 combined.
Okay.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. I'll keep you guys informed on the project.
Thank you. Well, the other things we pretty well covered, everything else that's here, except any update or anything on Stone Path.
Okay.
No, we get, the letter's just about done, we'll send it out, and we'll go
Okay.
from there.
Have we had a problems with their discharge?
I haven't seen, I mean, the color and the product, we have a major suspended solids problem, but I can't isolate it, I can't blame anybody, but we're getting tons of solids.
Sorry, I didn't hear the,
We have a major problem with suspended solids. We're not settling. Matter of fact, at the back end of the plant blew up the other day because we couldn't get it to the sand filter. We have to identify where those solids are coming from, but we all of a sudden, we've had a major solid issue. I can't say who it is, but we have solids.
and where are we with the study?
It's, yeah, they're in the middle of it.
still working on
Yep,
it?
they're in the middle of it. Yeah.
I've got it done. I just gotta get somebody to make it sound sensible.
Well, let me have it, let me play with it, I'll get it to you and see if it makes sense after I play with it, to rewrite it, see if I can get it. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, we sent a letter to the DEP, because anytime it comes out of the tanks, we get it's a violation, so we sent a letter. We violated, about 4,000 gallons came on the ground.
Original for the moment. Oh, wait a
Say
minute.
that again, $4,000
4,000 gallons came on the
gallons
ground.
listed.
It left the tank, because we have sand filters, it plugged it up, it couldn't go through to the next process.
So where did it go when it left the,
On the ground.
on the ground?
So we have a collection area around the sand filter, that goes on the ground, then it goes into an area that it leaches through the sand. Yeah, so we have to report it
Let me
immediately.
see what I can come up
So
with.
now we're doing the research, because the question they asked, okay, but why? So now we have to do the research to give an answer why.
Glad you did.
Is there a chance that will happen
Okay.
again? We don't know why it happened, therefore it could very well
That
happen
happened
again.
again, absolutely.
So we're putting sewer out on the ground.
No, this is on the back end, so it's been treated,
Oh, it's been treated.
yes.
So
on
it's at
back
the
end.
plant.
It's at the plant. The only treatment that's missing is UV disinfecting, but everything else has been treated. Once it hits the sand filter, it goes through the fine policy for the nutrients, and that's where it backed out, because that's all the
So that
solids.
solid could come from any place.
Come from anywhere. Come from
All
anywhere.
right, ladies and gentlemen, anything new? Our next meeting is going to be on the 21st, this room,
Okay.
Do your thing.
and Donna's on. Donna, you're,
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
all right. You know.